Good. My name is Josh. Cody has introduced me before earlier today, and this is Franco on my left here. So we are doing a little R&D today as a group. I will give you a little heads up. Number 4 cooker down here. We are actually cooking Western Red Cedar as of right now, and I should have Passover here relatively soon. So when we get done doing the top deck spiel, we will walk around the outside of the building and then down the road, and then we'll come into the bottom. And then from there, I will talk about the bottom half of the distillery process, and then I will, you guys can go through and see the labs and stuff and the old GC, the original GC that Gary started out with. And then, but yeah. So, what the top deck, what we do up here is, so when we're out harvesting the Melissa or the lavender, we bring all that product here, or as of today, we do with the Western Red Cedar, we'll bring all this material here, and especially with the Melissa and the lavender, we'll spread it out on this entire deck. Now, with the Melissa, we go through and do what is called a bricks test on it. Now, on the bricks part, it's got a big C-clamp, basically with a little 1-inch tube on there. And what we do is we take a little bit of that product and do what I like to call a cold compress, and we squeeze the essential oil out of it onto what is called a refractometer. And what that does is we can look at the sunlight, and it tells us the glucose levels that are inside of it, or the sugar levels. So you see a lot of it with tomato farmers. A lot of them do that to see how sweet or how ripe their tomatoes are going to be. Now, we do that with the essential oils because we're looking for a certain number that we're after with each species of plants. That way we know that we have the optimal time to go out, and we start out in the fields doing the bricks test, and then we bring it down here once we harvested it. But we find out what the optimal timing is to actually do the distillation on that product. That's more on the herbal sides, not so much with the Western Red Cedar or any of the conifer trees, such as our other farm up the Highland Flask does. But our cookers here, so number 3, we have taken the lid off. I invite you guys to look through. Please don't climb the gates or anything, but you can look downside and see there. And then on the outside over here where the crane is, we have what is called a spider, and then there's a basket below it. Now the baskets, what we'll do is once we have all our materials here, we'll put the basket down in the bottom of it, and then take the chains and flip them over to the edges. And then we'll go through, and when we find the optimal timing with the bricks test, then we'll load everything up. As you can see on my left here, we have a mini excavator and a skid steer. So what we do is we use the skid steer to basically make a giant pile, and then take the mini excavator, and then we'll grab it, and then we can put it inside of there. Now, steam is like water. It finds its least path of resistance. So what I mean by that is, so we actually get inside and we'll compact the whole inside ring of that. And sometimes with the Melissa, we got to get in there and kind of pull it apart, especially with the mini, because it kind of bundles itself up.
That's the Melissa dance.
Yeah, we call that the Melissa dance, or the lavender dance. What we do, we get in there and we actually compact all the outside edges, because the the steam is like water, it finds its least path resistant. And if we had a big air pocket inside of there, what happens is the steam will direct all of its energy to that big air pocket, and you'll have what is called passover really quick. Now, so Gary designed these lids that are on everything that our product comes into is stainless steel. Now Gary designed these cookers and these lids for a particular reason at an angle, because as that steam is kind of swirling as it comes up through there with all that compaction inside of it, what it's doing is it's actually trying to condensate itself too. So you get what is called a little bit of reflux water. Now, as that steam is saturating and it's pushing itself up through the product, Gary designed it because if you were just to put it flat, it would have more condensation on the flat part and it would actually come down. So as it comes to the top and the pinnacle point, we've connected the stainless steel hoses to them, which in turn then goes into our separators. And we'll get into that process when we get down below. But a little fun fact is, so if you guys, when we took our photos, you guys seen that swather and the harvest truck out there and the black truck that's behind it. If you don't, when we go back up top or when you guys do your rotation, you guys will be able to see the swather out there by the Melissa field. So essentially that's the only thing that we use for the harvest of the Melissa. But what I will say is when we get downstairs, I'll give you a little bit more notes. These cookers are 7,600 liter cookers. And to put that in perspective, they're about 10 feet deep by about 8 feet crossed. So, but yeah, any questions?
Not that deep.
Yeah, about that deep.
Wow.
So,
10
How
feet
how much can it weigh?
how much does it weigh? So the question was, is how much of the raw material?
The raw material, yes.
How much of the raw material does it take to fill one of the cookers? It takes about 5,000 pounds worth of raw material to fill this cooker. I do get a question, especially particularly with the Melissa, how many acres does it take to fill one of these? And I can't give you an adequate question or an answer to that, because a lot of that dictates off the weather.
And the size of the plant.
Yeah, I've seen the Melissa on me some years where it's waist high, and I've seen some years where the Melissa is only knee high. Now that's a big difference in how much material that we can cut. So
And this year it was like that.
yeah, this year we had a mild summer, so the plants did stunt a little bit, but we'll get back to where we need to be. So, any questions?
So far.
How much Melissa oil does that produce?
We'll get to that downstairs. But yeah, any questions?
Is there any reason why the size here is smaller than the Highland Flat and next Mona Farm?
No, I don't have an answer for that one. The question was, is why is our cookers different sizes between all of them? I believe when Gary was building the Highland Flats distillery up there was a lot of amount of material that he was able to harvest, and the trees were high yielding oils.
And bigger spin.
So, yeah. And then, whereas these ones are somewhat of the original ones that when he built the facility, that's what he had to, and over time has started with. So,
It's why you test bricks index?
So we test the Brix index to find the optimal oil level that's inside of itself. So when we go through with the lavender and we cut the Melissa, it stresses the plant. So what it does is it knows something's wrong. So it's trying to keep itself alive, so to speak. So it's stressing itself and making a bunch of more sugars inside of itself, or glucose, which eventually it turns into essential oil once we extracted that through our extraction chambers here.
So you mean that because we cut it, so the Melissa feels stressed, so it produces more sugar and also more oil?
Yes.
Okay.
So essentially, yes, that is a great one. So essentially, once we cut it, we've taken all that nutritional value out of it, and the plant is a mother plant, so it knows something is wrong. So it's trying to survive to bring itself back. It knows something has happened. So yeah, it's stressing itself to make it more essential oil or sugar levels that are inside of itself to be able to survive.
Thank you.
After harvesting, normally how many days you have to dry it first for Melissa and lavender after harvest?
So usually after we harvest it, so with the lavender, it's usually anywhere from 1 to 3 days. A lot of that has to dictate off of our weather outside as well. So cloudy days, it'll take a little longer to stress itself out. Melissa, usually it's pretty warm when we're harvesting that. So it usually is within a couple of hours of itself that we can go through and flip it. And then we'll gather everything up and then we'll bring it in here and start the distillation process on it. Yes. So the question was, what month do we harvest the Melissa? We harvest it generally the Monday after 4th of July or the day after 4th of July. So we try to give everyone here a break, because once we harvest the Melissa, it usually is about a 2-week window of opportunity for us to be able to actually go out and harvest everything that's on site before it's taken all of its flowers and gone to seed. And once it goes to seed, it's taken all the sugar levels and put everything back into the roots. So then we're not going to be able to extract the essential oil out of it.
But you need seed to plant the future generation. So where do you collect the seed?
We have, so the question was, if we don't let the plants go to seed, where do we collect the essential or the seeds for next year's batch? So on the back side of the distillery, we have a little lavender bed there. And then around the farm, there's a bunch of flower beds and stuff that have both Melissa and lavender in it that we can go through and harvest it and then be able to collect it.
The mothers.
Yeah, the mother plants of all of those.
Enough seed for the whole seed?
Yes, it's a lot of seeds. So there's particular areas that we don't harvest those just for that purpose only.
Melissa is native to St. Mary's. Lavender is from France, the French farm. Is it true?
Yes, I believe. So if you've noticed on the essential oil bottles, the 5 milliliter bottles, one says St. Mary's lavender or St. Mary's Melissa. That is solely grown here on site. And I do invite you guys to to smell the differences from what you get in your product guide versus what we distill on site here. I believe that there's definitely a smell difference. But yeah, I believe we get the product guide, Melissa, from our partner farm out of France. So, and then your lavender would be from Mount Nebo and Provence, France, from over there. And they would blend them together, and that's what you get out of your 15 milliliter bottle.
Hey everybody, my name is Franco, and I'm a mechanic on the farm, and well, other duties as a scientist, we like to say. One thing I wanted to add to Josh's field here was, once we cook whatever it is we're cooking for the day, what we'll do is we'll hook the chain to the spider, we lift the material out of the cooker, and it travels over to this yellow truck over here. We set it down on the truck, and then we take it up there to our mulch pile, and we make mulch out of it. And that gets incorporated back into the fields after it composts and turns to good stuff again. And I just wanted to mention that everything that we cook here, it ends up going back into the fields.
You mean as composing?
Yes.
As the
Yes, we compost it. And we've kind of worked out a routine where it only takes a couple of people to deal with this whole operation. And I have to say that everything that you see here pretty much has been built here, including the planting machine. When Gary built a planting machine that poked holes out in the field, that poked holes in the ground for the plants to go in, and they were at the right spacing. They're 5 foot 5 inches apart, and it was very labor intensive when we first started with that particular machine, and it took quite a few people, and it was a lot of every 18 inches we'd have to by hand bury the plants. Josh and myself and Cody, over the course, what year was that? 2019. We took Gary's machine that he had built, and we brought it in the shop, and we modified it into the planting machine that we use today. And now we can do 5,000 plants an hour. We can do it with, let's see, 3 riders, 1 driver, with 4 people, instead of it taking the entire crew. We were doing what would you say before that?
It would be a 2-month long adventure.
It'd be 2 months to plant a field, and now we're doing 5,000 plants an hour out of something that we designed and built here in the shop. Any more questions? How many people? We have 4 people that work here full time, and then we have 6 or 7 migrants, 5 migrants this year, and they stay with us for 6 months out of the year. And the top of the shop over there is a 4-bedroom apartment up there that they stay with us for 6 months out of the year. And then they go back to their families for 6 months out of the year. And then they come back next year and start again. But it's just 4 of us full time. For the whole farm. 4 people, yeah. For the whole farm. Yeah. So we all do a little bit of everything. Josh knows how to work on equipment, and he's been teaching me how to distill stuff, and so I can be doing anything. We all do whatever it takes to make this work. Any more questions?
Since you said that oils come from other farms, what are the oils that are distilled here used?
The question was, what are the oils that are distilled on this farm used for? At this point, the oils that we grow here are pretty much exclusive to us, and they're not in the catalog, correct? So you can only get them here, or I think they can order them now, can't they?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, well, at this point, all of the oil that we produce here on the farm, you can only get here on the farm. And like Josh was saying, that the lavender oil that grows here smells quite a bit different than the oil that you would get out of the catalog. They are similar, but in my opinion, the oil that's grown here is sweeter, and I think that the scent lasts longer than you would with the oil that comes from the Mount Nebo and Provence mixed together. Any other questions?
Soil is very sandy, dry, and soil.
Yes.
So
And clay, lots of clay.
is it very suitable for lavender and the habitat?
The question was, is the soil here really good for growing lavender and melissa? And the answer to that would be kind of. So we've been amending the soil and getting the soil tested to find out exactly what it needs for those particular plants. And we've been working with Tanio Biologicals has been helping us out a lot with our soils, and we've been fertilizing with fish emulsion, and that's basically the byproducts are left over from the fishing industry, and we use no synthetics, no pesticides, no chemicals. So weeding is a really big challenge here, especially with the thistle. Any other questions? No. So the question was, the melissa that you can buy, does it come from this farm? And the answer would be no. At this point, the St. Mary's melissa and the St. Mary's lavender is only available on this farm. It's not in the catalog.
If we don't have any more questions, then we're going to head downstairs and see if we got a pass over. I can help you out with whatever I can. So on my right, directly behind you guys, in that room over there, we have a 150 horse Clayton Signifier steam generator. And if you look above you, this big silver line that's up above us here, as it comes across, like I was saying earlier, we inject our steam from the bottom to the top. That way we know that the whole product has gotten saturated. And then at the same time, here, once I get passover, which passover means it has completed a whole rotation. Now this stainless steel equipment that's above my head here, if you look at number 2, and you look at number 3 here, you'll be able to see inside of there, there's a bunch of tubes that run the whole length of that. Now, my guess is somewhere where the steam line comes across and it hits this 90 is where all that solid material that's inside of here, and that steam has pushed itself all the way up through and worked its way all the way through, has turned into a vapor. That hot vapor, we have what is called, and then on the outside of that, sensors on the outside of those tubes, we have what is called non-contact cooling water. Now down on that side over there too, you're going to see a big green box and a silver box along with these big blue lines that are up above us here. That's all of our non-contact cooling water. Now, all that's doing is a giant circle. So it's coming from that box, being pumped up, coming through here, filling from the bottom to the top. That way there's no air in there. And then it runs back down into what is called an evaporative tower outside. And basically it has a bunch of fins inside of it that helps with this atmosphere cool the temperature of the non-contact cooling water down. That helps in turn, because right now you can see that we're at over 212 degrees making steam. So now what that does is, my guess is, like I was saying earlier, with the 90s, is where that has hit, that hot vapor has hit that cold non-contact cooling water, turning itself back into a liquid. And eventually what you'll see is eventually you'll see all this in here, which is hydrosol or floral water at the time. And anything inside of this separator right now, which is what we're doing, is we're distilling Western red cedar. Anything that slowly floats its way up to the top or is kind of circulating around, that is the essential oils that is inside of it. Anything that's shooting up real fast is air bubbles. So now generally on Passover I get it anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes depending on the compaction and depending on the material that I'm distilling in there. So what I like to do is, after I'm done cooking it, what I'll do is I will shut this valve on my outflow valve over here. What that does is it'll start raising the level of the essential oils inside of here, allowing me to be able to collect it inside of here and eventually into a stainless steel container. So as you can see right now, it's already starting to raise up. So, but I'm not done with the cook, so we're just going to keep going with the hydrosol. So yeah. Now I got the question earlier, how much material does it take, or what are my yields with our 7,600 liter distillation units? So out of this entire cooker, let's just say out of lavender. So if this extraction chamber was completely full with lavender, I would get anywhere from 7 to 9 kilos of essential oil out of this batch here. Now, to flip that around, if I was to do that with the Melissa on average I would get 0.6 kilos per cook, not even a full kilo. And then with the Western Red Cedar on average, I get roughly about 0.25 kilos of Western Red Cedar. So, and there's no rhyme or reason or anything like that of why it does that. It's the plants, they give us what they give us. That's why it's some of the best products on the earth, because we're working with Mother Nature and she gives us what she can afford to give us at the time. Any questions? So the question was how long was the process? And then on average, the process usually takes about 3 hours. So usually it takes about 30 minutes to load the cooker once the product that's on the deck is ready to be distilled. And then it's usually about 20 to 25 minutes for Passover. And then it's an hour and a half cook after that on average. Unless I'm getting, unless I'm still making oil at that point. But usually it's roughly within an hour, hour and a half after that. And then about 30 minutes, I'll get Passover. So I don't know if any of you guys here have been to our other farm, the Highland Flats farm. So if you guys, well, I guess you guys don't go there this year. So that's something new then. So you guys have seen their distillery up there. Their distillery up there is all, for the most part, automated. So everything here that we do down here at this farm, we take pride in doing everything very much the original way. Everything's hands-on. So that's the way Gary had taught us all how to do it here at this farm. That's the way we wanted to keep it going. So we tried to update and modernize as little as possible with keeping the historic value of this entire distillery to what you guys see right now. If you can, we'll eventually slowly go into that little decanting room. Sabrina from Highland Flats is actually in there right now. She'll go over the GC results. And then if not, if you guys have any more questions, I'll be right here to ask. It now becomes vendor salt. Yeah, so to avoid multiple cleanings, if I'm going to cook in number 1 again, so if I wanted to go from Melissa to lavender at number 1, I would have to completely steam clean that entire system all over again. So I try to, and typically the way it works is number 1, during the harvest, during the season of harvesting, it allows me to be able to do all that. And then at the end of the year, I kind of just have to clean the entire facility at one time. Western red cedar.
After finish the distillation, does it need the age process? Because we go to highland, the blue sprouts and the Brantford, they need 6 months or 1 year age process.
1 year to age process it.
And how about Melissa and lavender?
So the question was, how long does it take with the Melissa and lavender to be able to process it? For our plants, for them to become production plants, is a 3-year process. So from the start from the greenhouse to being able to harvest them with the machines out in the field, to be honest, 3rd year was when we can actually go out and harvest it, because you can only take so much product from the plant itself. And we've done enough research and notes and stuff, writing stuff down, that we figured out that we get anywhere from 10 to 12 years for the lavender and about 8 to 10 years of oil production from those plants before we try to rotate them out and continue that process again.
And after distillation, how long does the oil can be put in the bottle? Right
so
away?
So another thing is once I've collected it in the stainless steel container, I will take a sample of every cook that I take, and I will send them up to Highland Flats and Sabrina, because our GC, the one that's inside this room, technology's not working back and forth together. So we actually have her down here working on that, along with Adrian Abad. He's not here right now, but he's going to be in September to help fix everything, so then we can test on site. But usually, once I've gone through the process of the decanting process, so I run everything through a non-bleached coffee filter. So from that point, it's essential oil, and you can start using it immediately.
Your last rotation. Has everybody enjoyed your day?
Yeah.
Been a good day? How do you like that bottle of Melissa oil they handed out? Huh? That's pretty special. Sweet. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of farm history. I'm joined here today with Ishmael. He's our field supervisor. We also have Abelardo and Moises that are sneaking away because they think they can. So a little bit about the farm history. Gary bought the farm in 1992. That makes this farm 2 years older than the company itself. Young Living was not established until 1994. Because of the Seed to Still promise, you guys have all seen the St. Mary's logo now with the cowboy boot and the lavender. Because of the Seed to Still promise, we are still working with those same genetics of lavender seeds that Gary brought back in the late 80s. As Mary said, he had brought the seeds from France, planted the plants in his backyard in Spokane, transplanted them on this property, and we are still kind of carrying on those genetics today. We have 4 full-time staff, and this year our seasonal crew is 5 staff. We had 6 to start, but we're at 5 right now. So everything you guys are seeing today, from the landscaping to the building maintenance to the cleaning to the fields, the irrigation, everything has been done with 10 people. That is how many people it's taken this year. That's quite the undertaking. It's a total of 200 acres. We have about 130 under cultivation. We've got about 65 to 70 acres of lavender and about 55 to 60 acres of Melissa. We also have about 1.5 acres of peppermint that we are currently doing research on. We got our first cutting on that this year. We were able to make some oil, and so it's down in the lab right now getting analyzed for the constituents within that oil. We're hopeful that by next year we'll have a St. Mary's peppermint as well. Yeah. Does anybody have any, I mean, that's kind of a rough, broad history of the farm. I know it's rushed. Some of our farming practices, I won't go too heavily into how we handle our fields. I'll let Ishmael handle that. But with the St. Mary's farm and all the other Young Living corporate farms, you're riding under the seed to sill standard, you're riding under the organic certification, and you're riding under regenerative ag. That's a pretty grand slam of three things that you won't find on most any other farm anywhere in the world. You might find one of those three, but you're not going to find seed to sill anywhere else but Young Living. And organic is important, but it's not nearly as important as seed to sill. Seed to sill beats organic every time. And then under the regenerative ag standard, the reason that's important is because we want to take care of our soil. If we have healthy soil, everything else is healthy. Soil is the driver. Everything we eat has to come from the soil. Even if you eat meat, if you eat beef, it's eating plants that come from the soil. So if you have unhealthy soil, you have unhealthy plants, you have unhealthy humans, you have unhealthy animals, right? Does anybody have any questions about any of that real quick? If you want to pull me to the side and want to ask, we can go down some rabbit holes together. I'd love to do that with you. But I'll now turn the time over to Izzy so he can explain how we plant our plants, how we handle our crops, and some of the maintenance that goes into that, and a little bit about what his job is.
Before I go on, Cody, I like to mention the variety of seeds that we have been using for our cover crops.
Yeah. So under regenerative ag, the whole idea is soil health, right? Keep your soil healthy. To keep your soil healthy, you have to have a living root system. If you're familiar with agriculture, you've heard the term crop rotation, right? We do not do crop rotations in St. Mary's. Instead, we have at one point in time, we had anywhere from 33 to 13 species of plants planted in every field. How do we accomplish that? Via cover crops. Some of our main cover crops are alfalfa. The reason that alfalfa is one of our main cover crops is it's a nitrogen fixing plant. What that means is it has the ability to pull nitrogen out of the air and put it back down in the soil for the other plants to use. The other big benefit to alfalfa is that it draws the wildlife onto the farm. So as most of you are probably familiar, Mount Nebo Botanical Farm uses sheep in their farming practices to take care of some of the weed control. You also get the benefit of the fertilizer that the sheep have, because if they eat weeds, they've got to excrete something on the backside, right? So with that being said, we don't use sheep because in North Idaho we have predators. There's wolves, there's bears, there's cougars, things of that nature. So instead we use what Mother Nature has to offer. So Mother Nature has the white-tailed deer, has the elk around us. Let's use that. That also comes at a cost. Because if we bring elk in and we bring deer in, what did Mary tell you at lunch? They're eating our crops, right? But the reason we want the wildlife, the reason you want to integrate livestock or wildlife into your farming practices is they're doing the work that we really don't have the ability to do. So when our fields are muddy, we're not out with a tractor or out walking in them because they're too muddy, right? When the deer walk across them, our Creator designed deer, elk, beef, lamb, goats. Their hooves are shaped like this, right? So every time they step, they cut the blade of grass. That makes it more readily available for the microbiome because the bacteria in the soil, the beneficial bugs in the soil, can't eat a blade of grass that's a foot long. They want to eat it when it's this long. So the deer is actually cutting it. The other benefit is when they step in the mud and they sink up to their knee, that organic matter is now readily available where the microbiome is. It's down where the bugs are. It's not up on top of the soil yes, the bugs will get to it when it's laying across the top. However, it takes a lot longer for that process to happen. It's more readily available if it's under the soil in the root zone, then the plants can start uptaking it almost immediately. So that's one of our purchased covers. Going into 2026, what we're going to do is we're going to start trial running native cover crops. So as you guys are walking around today, if you'll notice that this field down at the end of there, that is all native cover crop species that just kind of happen naturally. It is way easier to maintain native cover crops than it is to maintain cover crops that you bring in that aren't native. So that's Izzy brought it up to my attention. That's what we're going to try next year is purchasing the seeds of those cover crops. So we'll still be purchasing the seed, but then we're going to be planting native species rather than these other species that have benefit. Some of our other main covers are tuber vegetables. So as you know, a radish, a carrot, all that grows under the ground. I want everybody to kick the ground really quick. Is that ground hard?
Yes.
Very hard, right? So what that tuber vegetable does is it'll grow, and I've actually picked a radish out of one of our fields that was about that big around. When that radish grows, it pushes the clay out of the way. When it decomposes, all the nutrient goes down to the root zone. That void is now left in the soil. So as the water runs across the top of this hard top, it can then fall in the void and slowly saturate into the root zone of our plants. So that's the other benefit to that. That's kind of the cover cropping in a nutshell. Good?
Of the rotating
You're
crops.
just going to keep feeding it back to me, aren't you?
No, I'm just gonna add up to some of the things that you said. We cannot do rotating crops because it takes about 3 years to establish our plants, and that's about the time that it takes for us to do our first harvest. So it is very important for us to, because we do not do conventional farming like many other people do. That's one of the things that make us number one. We do not use pesticides or anything like that. We relied on the regenerative of agriculture to provide to our soils what our plants needs. And it's not, the cover crops is not just to build our soils, it's to help us with a lot of things that you guys may see the weeds all over our plants. They're not just weeds. They're plants that are going to help us through this winter. This winter, it's probably going to be heavy. There's going to be a lot of snow. And guess what happens when it gets warm or during the springtime? The snow will start to melt. We do not have flat grounds. We have hillsides all over the place. And what that does is when the snow starts to melt, it starts to rush down. And if we do not have any vegetation, it's going to wash our soils away. And so that's one of the other benefits that we get for putting cover crops on our soils. Okay, Cody did a good job explaining a lot of what we were going to talk here. Let's go to the questions. I like to answer questions. I'm sure that a lot of you have specific questions that I would like to be able to go through with Cody. So Cody knows just as much as I do with farming because we have been a good team. We have been working together and we kind of all know what's going on with the farming and distillation and all of the process that we do because we all fit in on any gap or we are a small crew and we try to stay working as a team. We all do a little bit of everything. So because of that, we all know pretty much everything that needs to be done here. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have. Cody can answer just as good. So
Cody again, yeah?
yeah, Cody knows a lot of things here. We have been working together and we all know what's going on here. So anybody that you see wearing this shirt would be able to answer a question that you may have. Let's start with you.
We heard that they said the oils distilled here do not go into our products and can only be purchased here. So I would like to ask, why do we still do it then? If these oils are not going into our product, is that for research purposes? Or?
We do it this way because we are unique. We are the first farm, and that makes us unique. So we produce very little, and that makes us be able to bottle it here and have our product here. And that's another reason to attract you guys to come and visit us so that we can.
Memorial purposes.
Well, it has a lot of purposes, but because we are unique, we are the first farm, and we have our own product here.
I want to add to your answer. That was perfect.
Okay, Cody has something to
I
add.
just want to add to the answer from a scientific chemical background. So when let's just think about the lavender oil for a second, okay? We've got the lavender oil that you guys can see in the product guide that you can buy, you can have shipped to your front door. And we have the lavender oil here from St. Mary's, that is St. Mary's lavender, right? The constituents are different enough that if we put St. Mary's lavender into a blend that you use, it would smell completely different to you. Okay, so you guys have this idea of the way your oil is supposed to smell. Well, guess what? If it smells the same way every time, that's man-made. Okay, your oil bottle should change every bottle by bottle by bottle. So we are not big enough. We cannot ever dream of producing enough oil to supply Young Living with, because Young Living got way bigger than the St. Mary's farm. When Gary first started the company, I know he wanted it to be big. I don't know that he ever dreamed it would be this big. So 200 acres just isn't enough, right? So and I don't know if Josh or Franco shared this with you in the distillery, when we talk about the Melissa oil, the reason that we don't send you to that to corporate is because it's so low yielding. So did they give you the cook information on that? That one cooker only produces 0.6 kilos?
Yep.
That's why. Even when the whole farm is covered in Melissa, we can't ship it to Utah because we don't make enough. That's the reason. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Okay, let's continue with the questions. Who is next?
The rotation. Basically, what do you do with the rotation crops that you grow, like the alfalfa? Do you use it for?
No, we utilize that to attract the wildlife to help us in a way. So we have a variety of animals that come and visit us. We have mainly deer. Most of the time we have turkeys, we have elk, we have moose, we have coyotes, and many other animals that like to come and visit us.
So basically, it's a feast for them.
Pretty much, yes. Well, it all has a purpose, and the purpose is big. It's not just for one specific purpose. It helps us build our soils. We do not harvest. If your question originally was that we harvest what we put down as a cover crop or stuff like that, we do not harvest it. We put it to help our soils and to feed some of the wildlife that come in this place.
Tell them your camera. Oh, that's all you. Okay. I give, as a manager, I try to give credit where credit is due. So Izzy's saying that we don't currently harvest our cover crops. However, again, in 2026, part of our other cover cropping is we're going to put chamomile in between our rows. The chamomile grows faster, so we'll be able to come in and harvest the chamomile from between the rows to clean up for the lavender harvest or the Melissa harvest. So well, I guess it won't be Melissa because the Melissa's close by now. So we'll plant the chamomile in between the rows of lavender, harvest the chamomile, and then come harvest the lavender after that.
I'd like to add up to that. We're not just gonna take it away. So it's gonna be something, we put down something to help our ground and to build our soils. By harvesting the chamomile, we're not just gonna be taking it all. The chamomile is gonna leave the roots behind that are gonna do the soil retention and feed the microbes that are in the soil. So if you ever wonder where do the microbes of the soil feed off of, well, they feed off of the roots. And so, yeah, that's what's gonna stay behind. It's not just that we're gonna go, this is gonna be a trial that we're gonna do, and yes, we're gonna harvest it, but we're still leaving something behind that is gonna help our soils. Any more questions? You wanna ask?
Okay, now it's time for the test. See how much you guys learned.
Are you one of the
I think he is.